Gear up for equality virtual run? Wow. Babe, you tahu tak apa tu virtual run?
Tahu, virtual run ni dia satu event yang berkonsepkan perlumbaan. So, you boleh berlari, you boleh mendaki, you boleh berjalan pun dekat mana-mana lokasi yang you nak. So, dulu waktu kita PKP, event ni popular lah. Tapi you jangan risau sebab event ni pun masih lagi ada. Contoh macam Gear Up for Equality virtual run.
Oh, I tahu event tu. Dia start 1 sampai 12 Julai and paling best I tengok dia punya running skit. You tengok ada medal, ada shoe bag and paling best limited edition t-shirt untuk lelaki dan perempuan.
Betul. Event ni pun lagi best sebab diorang ada collaborate dengan satu Gear Up store ni. Satu jenama baru yang sampai kat Malaysia hari tu. And I have tried one baju diorang, kasut diorang and sangat best. You should have one.
Wih, macam seronok kan? Jom kita join. Promo code tu tak ada cerita lah.
Yang tu lah cerita ni.
So kita dah lari bila ni?
Ish, serius lah. Dia perempuan kot. Atas jalan pula tu.
Oi, you tengok apa?
Ni lah, you tengok video ni. Video lelaki tindas perempuan. Macam, serius lah weh. Perempuan kot.
Uish, teruk ya. Ni kan, kalau you kat tempat dia, you rasa you nak buat apa?
Kalau I kat tempat dia, I akan lawan balik. Sebab kita ni ada hak bersuara. So, kita kena lawan balik lah. Benda salah kot. Lawan lah, takut apa?
Fuh, you tahu tak? Susah tau nak cari perempuan yang macam you ni. Berani gila.
Taklah. Ramai je yang dah aware pasal equality ni.
Oh, yelah. You ingat tak? Ada satu event hari tu, Gear Up for Equality virtual run. Event tu pun, dia pasal kempen yang pasal, kesedaran equality ni supaya kita boleh aware yang perempuan ni ataupun wanita kat dunia ni masih ada hak untuk bersuara dia sama dengan orang lain.
Lah. Kalau kita join event ni, kita pun menyokong kempen equality. And orang lelaki pun boleh join. Equality kan?
Betul. Jom lah. Jom.
I nak ambil kategori ni lah. 5 km. Murah sikit. Tak payah bayar.
If you are looking to join a knowledge-driven investment community to learn solid investment knowledge with other like-minded investors, property investment life cycle, business investment life cycle, market industry outlook, insightful business innovation, global investment strategies, tax and legal related matters. Now you can access all this investment knowledge through our global investment seminars. Do like our Facebook page to find out more about our seminars. Our help desk ready to serve you.
Hello, hi, I'm Hazel from Iconics. So today's session is about how to get very high occupancy throughout the many years in your investment. So when it comes to property investment, it's not just about how to get tenants at the beginning. It's about how to get high value tenants throughout the many years of your investment journey. So over here, the first thing that any investor, any property investor must know that the properties has many stages. So if we look at the first graph here, right, the first 6 months or 12 months of property, this is when the property is very new. When the property is very new, the occupancy normally is very high because tenants, the sales agents, everyone likes new properties. So as an investor, you have to understand that the property is a long-term investment. It's not just for 1 year. So we have to recognize that in the first 6 months to a year, it is under the new property phase. Okay, so occupancy is very high. Then we must also recognize that in the second year, this is where we see a lot of occupancy drop. Occupancy drops very drastically in the second year, and this one, it is normally because the property is already not new, and also the cost goes up a lot. See, the second line here is the cost. So the cost goes up significantly because the warranty from the developer has already completed. You see the first year, the cost is very low. Second year, the cost goes up a lot because warranty from the developer goes off. So this is the second year where it's very crucial for any property investor to realize how do they adjust in this situation. Okay. Normally for any investor, you have to fix the problem very quickly because a small leak, if you leave it, when it comes to the third year, it becomes a very big leak, right? So big leak normally is very expensive. And also when there's a big leaking problem, occupancy will drop further, like you can see in the third year here, right? So these are the different stages that every property investor has to recognize. So from our years of managing tenants and about 1,000 units across Klang Valley, what we see is that we look at this data every day. We look at this data every day to notice if there's any change in the market behavior at all. So of course, in the first year, we see everything the same. Even for the properties that we manage, we recognize high occupancy is normal for any new property. Then of course, the second year come, this is when you see the light bulb here, is when we have to mitigate the problems of the second year. So this is normally a lot to do with fixing small problems. When I say fixing small problems, right, it's not just about the property problems, it's not about the leaking or the damages to the property. It's also about tenant problems. So you have to fix the small tenant problems quickly in order to make sure that the occupancy does not drop. Then of course, the third year comes in. So many of our properties were run during the MCO in the third year. So we had a lot of work to do to make sure that occupancy remains high and the cost remains quite stable. So as I mentioned earlier, is as long as you can fix the problem early, the cost does not go up very significantly for the owners. So this is the type of data that every investor has to look at in the property investment journey. So in order to get tenants, what do tenants want? We have to know what tenant wants. So of course, in the market, it's very clear, the right design, safety, credibility of the owner of the accounts, payment have to be correct. And what we see throughout the years, especially after MCO, more important than anything else, we notice that tenant wants, above all things, they want safety. Safety is most important because for Iconics, we manage co-living units. Co-living units is where different tenants are staying in the same house together. They don't know each other. So this one gives investors very high return on investments because when it comes to co-living, the rental rates is like double of the whole unit rental rates. But of course, that one comes with a lot of safety concerns. So if you want to do well for your property investment and have very high returns on your investment throughout the many years, you have to care about safety because this is what tenants care about, safety above all else. Then of course, in recent years, because more and more investors are actually renting out their units co-living way, and in order to get high-paying tenants, these high-paying tenants are actually foreigners. A lot of our tenants are foreigners. They work in very big companies like Google, like Accenture, and a lot of these multinational companies. So what the company wants and what they want is accountability. Tenant statement over here. So this one is especially important for foreign tenants who are actually expats that get paid quite well. So for every property investment journey, right, this is what we do, and this is what every property investor should do. At the beginning is the renovation stage. So over here, we have to first recognize what market are we targeting? Are we targeting the foreign market, the student market, the whole family market, or Airbnb? It's very different. So with a renovation budget of let's say 30 to 50K, right? You first have to decide what market are you targeting. So if you target, for us, we target the co-living market. So when we target the co-living market, the renovation is done very, very differently from if we are targeting the whole family market. Then once the renovation is done, it goes to the marketing and sales. So these are the sales agents where they will match the tenants that we are targeting into the property. And once they get the tenant, of course, they hand it over to us to manage on behalf of the owners. So as a property investor, right, this is where the sales agent will give you your tenant and you have to manage them. So once you start managing a tenant, this is a very important part, because this one is the first stage of the property when the property is new. So over here, what we have is that in Iconics is all this data goes in the TMS system, right? From renovation stage, sales stage, all the way to the management or tenant stage. Every data goes into our system. So what we do is that we keep on crunching the data almost on a daily basis to keep on adjusting. Renovation, is there anything to need to change or not? Did the market change or not? In terms of sales and marketing, did the market change or not? Are there like suddenly less foreigners, more foreigners? Especially when it came to MCO, there was significantly less foreigners. So this kind of data came from the marketing side, and we had to adjust very quickly according to the market. So all this data that flows through the TMS system has to be something that all investors do. Of course, for normal investors, you don't need a system because you have fewer units, right? But the same thing every investor have to do. You have to keep on reading the market, keep on understanding your tenant and the market, and adjust accordingly. So what are the data that we look at, and what are the data that you should look at? Once you target the market, right, it doesn't mean the market won't change, especially when MCO came, right? The market changed significantly, and then now MCO is not so severe. The market changes again. So every time what we look at is that when you have a property, especially a co-living property, do you want to rent it to all male, all female, or a mixed house? So you have to recognize very quickly that if you are renting in a very Malay area, student area, then definitely it has to have a male house and female house. If you have a mixed house, very hard to get tenant. And the whole objective of having a property investment is to actually get very high occupancy of tenants over the many years. Another important data I look at over here that we look at all the time is that the employed and student ratio. That means, is your market still 50-50 employed and student like what we see over here? Or has your market changed significantly? Only employed, students hardly. So these are the data you have to keep looking at every day, right? Of course, rental rate is very important. So this one normally comes from the sales agent side, the tenant side, the interview with the tenants to feel that is the prices changing or not, because prices for rental keeps on changing. This last slide here, right, this is very important. So if you have a property and it's being rented out, this is the kind of graph you want to see. You want to see that most of your tenants are actually coming from outside KL area. This shows a lot of rental pressure. So you see Selangor like that, JB, Perak, Sarawak, you add up, it's definitely more than Selangor. So this is the kind of graph you want to see for your property rental, right? If you put all the data together, right, this is for our data. You'll see that 1F means single female. There's one female tenant renting this unit. This is one male, okay? 2F means two female, two female renting a room. MM means two male. So if you're in this market and you look at this data, right, you will quickly recognize that your target market is to rent to a single female. That means that unit is rented to a single female, okay? And a single male. This makes the highest percentage of tenants over there. So with this kind of data, right, it's more easy for you to target your potential tenants over the years. All right, of course, if next year changes, then you have to just adjust accordingly. So for us, what we see is that in this area, our tenants, they are very young. They are about 20 to 30 years old and mostly are working outside Selangor. So now that we know exactly what kind of tenants we are targeting, we want to know now how to get them. You know already, they are over there. How to attract them and how to keep them over the many years. So the tenants I see here, our tenants are very young. So when they're very young, the kind of marketing material that you have to create and give to your salespersons has to be able to target this kind of people. Like ours is millennials, so we create this kind of marketing material and give to all our salespersons so that they can target the right tenants for us. I've been having dreams. So this is one of our units. Yes, it's already like about 4 years old already. See, it still has to be very well maintained. Like I said, safety is everything. Very important, safety. Like for tenants who pay a lot of money nowadays, 1,000 ringgit a room, they are all about lifestyle. So they want safety, they want lifestyle. Yeah, very important. They need to stay in the house where they feel they are safe. They are safe and they can still go on with their work. Yeah. So this is the kind of material that we have to create and pass to the sales agent if you are trying to get these kind of tenants. So very important in the investment journey, like you saw, there are many stages, right? Because the property is not just 1 year, it's 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. So very important is if you are doing a co-living, that means multiple tenants living together, the most important thing I will stress is actually the move-in orientation. A lot of times when the owner gets a tenant, they will just quickly move them in, like, okay, this is the keys, you just move in and make sure you pay monthly rental every time on the first 7 days. Normally, it's not just that. What we do is that we have a move-in orientation. This orientation we find is the most effective in solving all the problems in the next 1 year. So it is normally it's about 1 hour plus 2 hours. It's at our tenant centers, half at our tenant centers, and the other half is actually in the unit itself to teach them how to use all the appliances. Because a lot of times the tenants, when they first move in, they are going to put their things here and there, blocking every places. They are going to be using the things wrongly. They're going to give a lot of problems to yourself and also to the other tenants staying with them. So if they don't follow the same rules, they are going to annoy and irritate the other tenants, and that will cause occupancy to drop. So it's very important that every tenant that goes in the house, they understand the same house rules, the exact same house rule. And then very important also, we take time to explain to them this tenant accounts handling, right? Because tenants, what we know is that they are very fussy about the money they pay. Everyone is very fussy about money they pay, but even more for foreigners, because even charging like 20 cents, 25 cents, they will pay. You charge 200, 2,000, they will pay, as long as they know exactly how it comes about. That means upfront, we have to tell them very clearly how to read their tenant accounts that we send to them every week or every month. So when you get a new tenant, right, you really have to really train them and have very clear rules about how you want them to, their roles and responsibilities in the house. So if you want to have high occupancy throughout the many years, this is very important. For what we have at Iconics is the CIP program, Continuous Improvement Program. Because like mentioned earlier, every stage of the property cycle, things changes, market changes, the people changes, rental prices changes, everything changes. So what we have is an improvement program that changes together with the market. So as a normal investor, what you have to do is that keep recognizing whether the market has changed or not, whether you can do something better in order to be more competitive or not, and keep on getting the very good tenants throughout the many years. So this is what we mean by the CIP program.
Hi, I'm Ain. I'm the CIP coordinator. Want to know what we do? Watch this. CIP stands for Continuous Improvement Project. So basically, what we are doing are to improve all the unit. For example, as what you can see now, I'm placing the unit shelf at all unit so that the tenant can place their stuff on the shelf. And the main purpose is to make the common space neat, tidy, clean, and more comfortable.
So you can see what we do is that because we are doing co-living, right, and we want our high returns and high occupancy throughout many years. So what we do is that we make sure there is space segregation. That was one of the improvements that we implemented just before the MCO, and it became very, very helpful. So if you do all these things right, what you will have are very good tenants like this tenant here. So for a property investor, if you want to attract better tenants, you already have one good tenant. How do you attract a better tenant? Another tenant that is like this person. The way is by asking for referral. Referral is a very, very important tool to any investors if they want to maintain high occupancy throughout the many years with good tenants. Not just high occupancy, it must be high occupancy and good tenants. So a very important way is to actually talk to the tenants, get their feedback, and ask for referrals. So we do this on a weekly basis. We will always collect information from the tenants and get them to refer. We listen to what they want. So over here is Miss Aisha. She actually works for a multinational company. She's Malaysian. She works for a multinational GMB company. And over here, what she's saying that she likes most about our property is that the common spaces are very organized. It means although she's living with 3 other strangers, but her place is always protected. That means when she goes to the fridge, her shelf is always her shelf. When she goes to the cupboard, her cupboard is always her cupboard. Yeah, it doesn't have like other people's things in her place, and she doesn't like get confused which tomato ketchup is hers. So this is what she likes best about our places. So it's very important to actually listen to what the tenant says. Getting testimonial is very, very important. So of course, this video is 5 minutes long. If you want to hear what she says, the whole video, you can just go to our Facebook there and listen and watch the video. So this one is another testimonial by another tenant. So this tenant is a foreign tenant. So when we talk about foreign tenants, a lot of times when we talk to property investors, we say, oh, more than 50% of our tenants are actually foreigners. A lot of them will ask foreigners, can where foreigners will. Actually, if you target the right foreigners, they are actually very, very good. When we look at our data, right, the foreigners actually pay a lot more. They're able to pay a lot more than the locals are in certain areas. So this guy Dansu, he's actually referred by his colleague. So when he came to book with us, he was not in Malaysia. He was actually in Indonesia. He's an Indonesian tenant, and in our data, it shows that Indonesian tenants are really, really good paymasters. They are very polite. They are very kind. Yeah, they're very nice, and they're very nice people. And the only thing is that when they come to Malaysia, they want to make sure they get accommodation before they reach Malaysia. So a lot of the refer tenants, foreign refer tenants, they are actually looking for us when they are still in their home country. So what Dansu is saying over here is that what he likes best is very precise booking. That means whatever we tell them, whatever our salesperson tell them is exactly true. That means the picture of the room that we show them is exactly the same. The rental rates, when to move in, when to move out, everything is exactly as it is, because it's very important. They are not here to verify, and they are foreigners. So imagine if you are going to a foreign country, right? What you want most is very clear transparency and very, very accurate info. So again, you can just go to the Facebook page and listen to the whole video lah. So this Dansu, he has actually recommended quite a number of friends to us also. And this is what we want, a good tenant recommending his friends, his colleagues, especially his colleagues. So in order to maintain very high occupancy over many years, what we know is that we create a tenant culture, because tenant culture is not created one time. It's a culture that you carry with you. That means they will know, okay, this owner, right, or this owner, right, their culture is like this one. So when we stay in this house, this is the house rule. Of course, tenant culture, another way of saying it is actually house rule lah. So how do we enforce a house rule, right? So we create a tenant culture, and very important is that from the move-in itself, the two-hour orientation, we already tell them this is a culture. Everyone in this house actually follows the same culture. That means you don't shout in the house, you don't bring strangers back. Yeah, this is a culture that we have, because what we know very important is that good tenants always stays with other good tenants. So in order to get very high occupancy and very high returns on investment throughout the many years, you have to make sure that every tenant staying in the house actually follows the same rules. Because if there's one bad tenant, your 3 or 4 good tenants, they are going to move out. Either they're going to move out, or they are going to also become bad tenants. When they become bad tenants and they are messy and they're noisy and they are disruptive, then the property investment will not do well. All right, occupancy will drop, the cost will increase. It's very important when you have a property, the first thing you do is set the house rules, set in the culture. So when this kind of properties, right, when you want to generate very high returns and each tenant is paying like 800 ringgit to 1,000 ringgit a room, just a room, these kind of tenants, they normally have the mind on their own. They know exactly what they want. Like Miss Aisha there, she already knows what she wants. You should look at the video. She has already went and decorate her own room the way she wants. Tenants, they want to do their own thing, especially the high paying ones. They want to do their own thing. Okay, so what we have here is actually the TMS system. We open up the system to our sales agent and also the tenant so that they can choose their own rules properly. The information from the property goes to the tenant directly. That means there's no middle person to jumble up the facts or to say things wrongly. So the information is directly to the tenant. Okay, of course, assisted by the sales. Over here, whether the tenant is in Malaysia or not in Malaysia, they can actually choose their own unit. They choose their own unit based on their budget, based on where they want to view exactly real time. So if they want a car park, they will just search. Of course, very important is that we have headcount control. So every house only has a limited headcount. So this one was launched also sometime during the MCO, which was very, very helpful, because MCO people cannot come out, but they can still choose their unit, move around within the building. So what you see inside here is the information of the property itself. So they can choose themselves, including the car park, which level of car park they want. And then more important than anything else, safety, right? They have to know exactly who are they staying with. So they're actually choosing their own housemates. Yeah. A tenant that choose a house with their own housemate is a very involved tenant. They are going to do well already. So a lot of time what we see is that tenants of the same type, they are going to stay together. So we let them choose. Yeah, because who knows better than what the tenant wants, right? It's actually the tenant themselves. And then during the MCO, of course, this one came in very helpful because no one can go out, right? So we actually let them see the layout themselves. So back to the transparency, because a lot of high-paying tenants, they are actually foreigners. They're actually foreigners or very high-paying locals. So they are the ones that they are very fussy. They're very fussy about accounts, right? So a lot of investors, they feedback to us saying that foreigners are very leceh one. They ask a lot of questions. They want to know everything. Of course, they want to know everything because they're foreigners, and they work for multinational companies, which means a lot of times what we see is that when they ask for a lot of information, it's not actually they asking, it's actually their company is asking, because these tenants, they have to submit, they have claims, they have claims and all that. So there's a lot of paperwork, a lot of documentation that the company actually wants. So a lot of times the HR, the company actually comes to us, they look through our data. That means the tenant statement, are you charging my employee correctly or not? Because the company does not want problems with their employees, right? Because their employees are very high paying employees. So they will come and check, tenant statement okay or not? Everything being paid correctly or not? They will try and audit, actually like auditing the process. And then of course, every payment you see, even like 122.71 cents, if you just 71 cents or you round up or you round down, the tenant is going to ask. They're going to ask. So everything has to be very clear, very precise, and our system actually generates everything out for them. So as a property investor, and you have foreign tenants, you're targeting foreign tenants, you have to be very clear about how money is calculated. Okay, then every 6 months or a year or so, they will ask you for a full set of accounts, because I think they are going to submit for claims, especially during the MCO. They were submitting relief claims for the internet, working from home and all that kind of things. So there's actually a lot of documents that they actually need. And above all else, the account transparency has to be very accurate. So these are all the tenant centers that we have across Klang Valley. So every tenant center over there, we manage about 200 to 300 units, and that is where all our data came from. So everything that I've just shared actually is a compilation of all the data from all our sites across Klang Valley. Yeah. So of course, this is what our tenant center looks like. So of course, if you have any more questions, you can just come and ask us, or if you want to watch any of the videos or what the tenant look like, you can just go to the Facebook page and look at it and watch it. So this is what our tenant center looks like.
Hi, my name is Naini. I'm from Academics Factory. So now I'm going to show you the tenant center.
Tenant center is normally like a
office
lot in a building.
And this space called Cotterdam. We got 7-Eleven here. Let's go. I got this.
Our videos are made as such because our tenant target market is very young millennials like her. Especially if they're targeting foreigners, right? It's very important that these kind of videos, we show them exactly what the surrounding looks like, because they want to feel that they feel safe. They want to feel that they already know the people that they are going to be talking to. So a lot of times we actually make videos with our own employees.
Gallery. And then further there, we have Jaya Grocer. We are here at the Tenant Center. Hi, my name.
So that's what the tenant center looks like. Yeah, thank you very much. Right, if you have any questions, of course, you can contact us and also watch more of the videos at the Facebook pages.